Hi guys, welcome to the Art of Server. In today's video, I want to introduce you guys to cable management arms. And specifically, I have in front of you here are two Dell cable management arm kits. These are also sometimes called CMAs for cable management arm. On the left side, I have a 1U kit, and on the right side, I have the 2U kit. And so this kit would usually go with like the R630, R620, R420, those type of servers, while the 2U kit goes with the R820, R720, R520, and those model servers. So these are brand new kits here. I'm going to do a little unboxing. We'll see what the contents are of these kits, and later on in the video I'll show you how specifically the 1U kit is installed. I'll demonstrate that in the back of my rack. Alright, so before we get started, one thing I really want to point out to you guys that's really important when you're shopping for cable management arm kits, okay, because Dell sells two types of kits, and one is an older kit and I think the other one is probably a slightly newer kit, but there is a very significant difference that will either make this a totally awesome experience or a very frustrating experience. And so I want to point that out to you guys before we get started with the unboxing. So if you look at the label of these kits here, let me bring one closer to the camera for you. All right, so this is the 1U cable management arm kit. This is the Dell part number to this particular kit. And if you're looking for a 1U cable management arm kit, you might want to make note of this part number. So that's 2J1CF, okay? And within this kit are all these components, okay, that each have their own Dell part number, okay? Now, the important part here is that you want to get, especially if you are buying servers on the aftermarket, you know, like many home labbers are, right, on eBay and other places, you're going to get a rail kit that probably isn't going to include all the accessories. You're likely getting a server and a rail that has been decommissioned from a data center or some business, and when they initially installed everything, all the leftover parts were basically thrown out, right? And so you know, if you're lucky, you might get those accessories, but most of the time you're not going to have all the accessories. And one of the important accessories that you really need if you're going to install a cable management arm kit are these last two parts right here. Okay, so you'll see a right attachment bracket and a left attachment bracket. Okay, normally, or I should say originally, these brackets come along with or are included with the rail kits. But if you are buying a used rail kit or buying your server used that comes with the rails, you're likely not going to have those brackets. And so Dell actually sells the cable management arm kits, like I guess the older kits, that don't have these two brackets. And without these two brackets, and if you don't already have them with your rails, your rack mount rails, you're not going to be able to install these cable management arms. Okay, it's just simply impossible. This is absolutely crucial for you to be able to install the cable management arm onto the rails. And I'll show you in more detail later on when I demonstrate how to install this kit. But this is what you want to look out for. If you are buying a cable management arm kit, you want to buy the kit that comes with the brackets. And that way you'll actually be able to install these cable management arms. Okay, so same thing goes with the 2Us. Okay, you'll see that this particular kit, which is part number YF1JW, has the right attachment bracket and left attachment bracket. And when we open this up, I'll show you what those parts actually look like. But if you are shopping for a cable management arm kit, those two brackets are going to be crucial to your success, to your successful installation of the cable management arm kit. So I guess along those lines, I also recommend that if you're buying a cable management arm kit, get the complete kit. Okay, it's tempting sometimes to buy a used kit because maybe they're cheaper or you know, just more affordable or whatnot. But if they're missing these brackets, that whole kit is going to be completely useless to you. So you know, I would suggest if you are looking at a cable management arm kit, get a brand new kit, get the particular kit that includes the left and right attachment brackets, and then you'll have a good time installing these kits. All right, so let's go ahead and unbox. Let's start with the 2U kit. So let me put the 1U kit aside. All right. Let's open this up. All right, so there's a installation instruction manual. Now, it's probably not a bad idea to read this, but if you watch this video, it probably won't be necessary. All right, so first thing is you're going to see this kind of boomerang shaped bracket, and this is actually a really great thing. You don't want to lose this. This is actually kind of a new thing. In older generation Dell servers, the cable management arm did not include this tray, and what this tray does is it slides onto the back of the rails over here on the left and right, and this tray basically serves as support for the cable management arm. Now on older generation, like the 8th generation and older, cable management arms did not have this tray, this support tray, and what happens over time is that with the weight of the cables and everything in the cable management arm, the hinges on the cable management arm basically weaken over time, and they start drooping, and you'll kind of see that they're kind of crooked as they kind of get older and older, as the hinges get basically weaker over time. And so this tray is a new addition to the newer cable management arm kits that help support that arm when it's in the closed position, and that way it doesn't develop that droop. Okay, so you definitely want to have this. All right, let's see what else is in the kit. All right, so these are the brackets that I was talking about. All right, these are the crucial brackets. So basically these attach to the back side of the rack mount rails that then allow you to attach these arms. And so without these brackets, these arms are, you're not able to attach these arms. And so this is absolutely crucial. And the sad thing is these brackets are also very hard to find by themselves. I haven't really seen them listed anywhere. And you might be able to contact Dell and ask them if you know the part numbers to the brackets, but yeah, they're kind of hard to find, and so that's why I recommend that you get a kit that includes these brackets. All right, let me put those very important brackets aside, and here we have this assembly that is the cable management arm. All right, so this arm here basically articulates like this, and you can attach it both. So in this case, this would attach on the left side, but you can actually flip this around, I believe, like this, and then you can attach it on the right side. Okay, so you can attach it in whichever configuration works best for you. Ideally, what you want is to have the outlet. So if the server's on this side, you want the outlet of this cable management arm to go to the power supplies. You don't want to have the power supplies on the opposite side where you have to run the cables over across this way without it being inside the arm, because what will happen sometimes is that those power cords will droop a little bit, and if you're extending the server out of the rack and whatnot, those cables tend to get caught in something, especially if you have a lot of servers crammed together. And so it's best to have this outlet here as close as possible to the power supplies. Those are usually the cables that have, they're the heavier cables, and so they're the ones that usually get caught in something. You're going to obviously have the cables for your network and your console or various other things as well. Those are lighter cables, and so you can kind of like tie those together and prevent them from getting caught in something when you're extending the server out of the rack. Okay, but if you're not able to do that, so in my case, later on when I show you how to install the 1U kit, the way my rack is set up, it's not really ideal. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to actually have to install the arms on the left side, and my power supplies are on the right side, and so I'm going to have the power cord come out this way and out that way. And so if you are in a similar situation where you have to do that, I'll show you what you need to do to kind of prevent the power cords and stuff like that from getting caught when you're extending the server out of the rack. Okay, so that's, anyway, this is the cable management arm, and it's very, very nicely made. It's got little Velcro ties to hold the cables in and all that stuff. All right, so let me put this aside. And you've got some zip ties here to kind of help you organize the cables a little bit. And then there is this LED cable. And so this is a little LED light that attaches to the back of the cable management arm, and the other end plugs into the server. And so when you activate the kind of identification light, or if you have a warning, which either it's like blue or amber, that light will also show itself on this LED. And so this way, with the cable management arm installed, it's a little bit hard to see the back of the server because you've got the arm and all the cabling. And so this at least kind of relays that LED signal out to the outside of the arm, so you can actually easily see that. Okay, so this is optional. You don't have to install this, but it's a very nice thing to have, and so I normally would recommend it. All right, so that's pretty much it for this kit. Let me put this back, and we'll open up the 1U kit. Okay, next unboxing is the 1U cable management kit. All right, let's open this one up. This box is a little bit smaller. All right, so first thing you see is the actual arm itself, and looks like we have a bunch of other components inside. Again, installation instructions, and let's get all that out. So we got some zip ties, which are useful, although these zip ties seem thicker than the zip ties that came with the 2U kit. I'm not sure why that is. All right, the very, very important attachment brackets. All right, so these are in separate bags with their separate part numbers. And once again, we have that arm support tray to prevent the arms from drooping over time. All right, so I think that's all that's really in the box. Let's take a look at the arm. All right, once again, we have the LED cable, and all right, this kind of opens up this way. All right, nothing else is in here. All right, so let me just put this over here. All right, so that's the cable management arm, and I actually have not messed with the 1U variety before yet, so let's take a quick look at it. I think it's very similar mechanism to the other one. I believe this should be able, yep. So these should fold the other way so that you can install this on the right side, or you can install it on the left side, either way. Okay, and you have Velcro ties to hold the cables in. And yeah, so pretty much the same thing as the other kit, except that this is a 1U kit, so it's a little bit thinner. All right. So most important part, once again, get the kits with the brackets. Without these, the rest of the kit is completely useless. All right, guys. So I'm going to actually demonstrate how to install this 1U kit, but this 2U kit is pretty much the same. The attachment points are all very similar, and so I think if you watch the rest of this video on how to install this kit, you'll know how to install the 2U kit as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get over to the rack and do that. Hey guys, welcome to the back of my rack. So this is the lab rack, the ones that you usually see from the front side view in many of my videos. This is basically a rack purely just for experimenting with things to answer a lot of the questions that you guys send me. And today I want to demonstrate how to install the cable management arm to a 1U Dell server. And I actually have two servers. I have an R420 down here, and this is an R630. I was originally going to start with the R420, but I think for the purpose of this video, it might be easier to see the R620, so I'm going to start with that instead. I've already prepped some cabling here for this installation. So I have a coil of double Ethernet cables. This is for network. These are connected to the network switch down here. It's basically going to be for the primary network interface and the iDRAC interface. And I have two individually coiled Ethernet cables, and these go to my KVM. And so I'm going to be using these with these KVM dongles that basically provide VGA and USB connectivity to the keyboard and monitor through this dongle that has a RJ45 connection on the other end. So basically it's not a network cable. Well, it is a network cable, but it's using network cable not for network connectivity, but for keyboard and mouse basically. All right, so we're going to do that. And I also have prepped some power cords here. I believe these two power cords will plug into this server, and I have another set of power cords for the other server, which I will do off camera. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to just show you how it's done with the R630 I have here. And the procedure is more or less the same whether you're doing a 2U server or a 1U server. As you can see up here, I have got, I think this is a R720XD and R510. And it's basically, a very similar setup, except that the cable management arm is a little bit taller. So, all right, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is put on the tray, the support tray that I mentioned earlier. So this just basically slides on. So if you already have your Dell rack mount rails installed, this is the way they usually come, and you'll see like these two I don't know what you call these things, but basically the brackets that we were talking about earlier will slide onto those things. So if you're lucky, you might actually already have a bracket attached to this, but vast majority of the time I find that people will not have those brackets, and that's why I made it a point to mention that make sure you have those brackets. All right, so let's see, I believe this just kind of slides on like this. Yeah. All right, and then in order to release this, so by the way, it locks in, but in order to release this, you can just pull back on this, and this blue lever here, or switch, and it'll just release like that. So very, very easy to install. And I'll tell you guys that, you see a couple of, or three Supermicro servers here. I actually really love Supermicro servers. I think they're very flexible, and they tend to build using standards. So like a lot of the motherboards are kind of ATX, eATX format, and so it allows you to really kind of reutilize the chassis by swapping out the internals and stuff like that. And that's something you can't really do with Dell. You pretty much are just stuck with the way it's designed, and if you ever need to upgrade, you kind of have to swap the whole server out. So that's one kind of negative about Dell. But on the other hand, I gotta tell you, the Dell cable management arms is an envy of all Supermicro users. Okay, Supermicro does offer a cable management arm solution, but I tried it out once, and it's really not tested. I don't think it's ever been field tested. I think someone drew something up on a CAD design thing and had them make it, but never really actually fully tested it out, because it really does not work well at all. The cable management arm ends up being very close to the back I/O panel, and you really don't have any ability to plug in cables and stuff like that. So it's just a very, very poorly designed cable management arm. But in a lot of situations where if you're not really moving the server in and out that much and you don't require that much in-rack maintenance, it may not matter. You might not even care. But in this particular case, these two servers I do use a lot in terms of pulling them out of the rack, because I'm constantly installing, uninstalling, flashing cards, testing cards, all that kind of stuff. And so having the cable management arm makes it so much easier to basically pull the server out, do what I need to do, push it back in, all that kind of stuff, without having to disconnect cables and worry about cables getting caught while I pull them out and stuff like that. So if you have a rack setup where you are using your servers like I just explained, where you're always kind of moving things around and installing, uninstalling components, testing things out, you're really playing around a lot with the hardware, then I do highly recommend getting a cable management arm. It will save you a lot of time, and that's why I'm doing it here with these two servers. So alright, anyway, let's get back to the installation. So once we have this arm or this bracket in place, you can see it kind of gives us a place to rest the cable management arm. So I'll kind of just temporarily show you that, like, this is basically it's going to just sit like that on top of this tray. Alright, so but before I do that, let's talk about those crucial brackets. So I got these two brackets that came in that kit that I just showed you earlier, and I don't know which one. I guess, let's see, this is up. I don't know which one is left or right now, but I guess we'll figure it out as we go. Okay, if that's up, then I suspect it's going to go this way, and so I probably have to use this one. Alright, so what these do is that, here, let me kind of demonstrate a little bit more. But so I'm going to be installing my cable management arm in this fashion, and like I said, you can install it the other way, and you just simply flip these attachment points around and you can attach it this way. And normally, actually, this would be the ideal way, because you can see the power supplies over here, and I'd like to have the power cords kind of come out here and just go in to the power supplies. But unfortunately, my rack is not set up in an ideal way. I only have PDUs on the right side here, and so the power cords and that kind of stuff is going to have to come from this side, and so I'm going to have to install my cable management arm the other way around, like this. Okay, and yeah, this is a little bit unfortunate, but well, I can figure out how to make that work. And so now the way these arms attach is through sliding onto, you'll see this little bracket, A bracket here, that's already here. This basically slides into it. So I'll kind of show you this part here. Yeah, it just kind of locks in there, and if to release it, you press down on this blue lever or switch or whatever you want to call it, and it slides back out. Okay, but the problem is this side doesn't have anything to attach to by default, and so that's what that bracket that I was telling you guys about, and that's why that bracket is so important. Okay, so I'm going to be, since I'm using this side, and this is the A side, I guess. Okay, so I didn't notice this, but this has the letter A on it, and this also has a letter A on it, so this is going to go on this, well, from the view of the camera, the right side, but from the front of the server, that would, or sorry, from the view of the camera, that would be the left side. From the front of the server, this would be the right side. Alright, so let me go ahead and remove this bracket. So this bracket is going to allow me to attach the other part of the cable management arm to the rails, and this is going to attach to the inner rail, so that when you pull the server out, this bracket is going to basically pull the front side of that cable management arm out with the server. Alright, so these are basically just kind of spring-loaded things, and you just kind of slide those two pins into these two holes and then push down, I believe. So let's see if I can demonstrate this on video for you, and hopefully you guys can see that. Alright, so I pressed it in. You can see that the spring, you can see that spring clip right here moving, and then you just kind of press down on it. Alright,
Let's see if I can. It's a little bit hard. It's a very tiny bracket, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time here. Let's see. All right, I think I got it there, or maybe I don't. Let's see. All right, I think it's kind of in, but maybe if I attach this bracket, I'll have a little bit more leverage and I can kind of get it all the way in. All right. Yeah. All right. So I think that's in. All right. So once you have one side, the other side you probably won't need. All right. So now I can attach the inner front portion of the cable management arm to that bracket, and I can attach the other portion of the cable management arm to the outer rail. So the outer rail is going to stay static, that's not going to move, but the inner rail is going to move when the server gets pulled out the front of the rack. All right, so once you have that in place, then it's just a matter of routing the cables. And so normally I like to start with the power cables. All right, so I have two power cables here that I need to route, and there's one that's a little bit longer, so I'm going to use that. I think, let's see, I think one is a little bit longer. Yeah, so this one's a little bit longer, so I'm going to use that for the power supply furthest away. And Dell usually has these Velcro ties, and I highly recommend that you use them, because if you're moving your servers around, pulling them out of the rack, often it's very easy for you to accidentally pull these power cords out and stuff like that, and that might not be something you want to happen while you might be, for example, still doing something with the server while you're pulling it out. So all right, I'm going to also coil up. So this is how I usually do this. I make a loop with the power cord, and well, let's see, might be easier if I do this first. Make a loop with a power cord. All right, and now, all right, so that's how I'm going to have the power cord. And like I said, this is a little bit unfortunate because I undo the Velcro ties here to open up the cable management arms, and there's a whole bunch of these. I have to say, Dell really does a good job at making these cable management arms. There's just a lot of cable management and stuff that just makes it really nice. All right, so let's see, there's that one too. Pull this out, pull that out. All right, so we have everything opened up. You just kind of pull these down and out of the way. All right, so I'm going to route this into the cable management arm. Now I'm going to try to route this as tight as possible, because like I mentioned, you don't want these cables drooping, because if you have another server down here, if it's hanging down like this, it's possible that something's going to get caught as you're pulling this out. So try to keep everything as kind of straight as possible. And all right, so it looks like this cable, I need this to be a little bit longer. I think I have the length, so let me just pull on that a little bit. Okay. All right. All right, so let's see. Do I have a little bit more length here? I think I do. Alright, so that goes in there. And then I have this other power cord. So again, let's do the Velcro. So I'm going to again make a loop. Then tie the power cord to that loop, and then I can plug this in. All right. All right, looks like I need some little bit more length from this power cord. All right. So that should be all right. Now you want to make sure that these power cords, if you have to route it like this, like I said, this is not really ideal. Just try to make them as tight as possible so that they don't droop, and that if you're pulling up, if there was another server cable management arm up here, that when it's pulling out, it doesn't catch these things. All right, so I think that should do the trick. Yeah, I think these are also HP power cords. I think they had an HP part number. I mean, you know, power cord's a power cord, but as long as you have the right amp rating and all that stuff, they should all work the same, except that this has all this like labeling with the barcode and everything. I think it's making this loop a little bit stiffer than it really needs to be, but anyway. All right, so I think that's good for that. Now I need to do the Ethernet cables, so I'm going to use one of these double loops. So let's bring that up here. All right. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, let's talk about the LED cable. All right. So the LED cable in this case plugs into this hole right here. So that this end plugs into that hole, and the LED itself basically connects over here, I believe. So yeah. So in this way, when you have, like, if we look up on top, you'll see how I have two 2U servers here that already have the cable management arm set up, and you can see that it's very hard to see the back of the servers, right? So when you have an amber light, a warning signal or something like that, or if you activate kind of the identification button, and so that the light here, or normally the blue light in the back of the server would blink to identify that server, you can't really see it because of the cable management arm. So that basically, this cable basically relays that LED light out here to the back side of the cable management arm so that you can actually see these things. All right, so once you connect that LED to the cable management arm, you just have to route this around, and I have a little bit of excess here, so I'm just going to route it inside the cable management arm a little bit, wrap it up in here a little bit until I can get it out here, and then plug that in. Alright, and later on I'll get all the Velcro stuff to hold everything in place. Alright, so let's get back to the network cable stuff. Both of these are connected to a very simple switch. There's no VLANs or anything like that, but if there is, of course, you want to make sure things are labeled and you know what plugs into what. But this is just a lab setup for me, so I'm not being as rigorous as I might normally for a kind of business or production setup. So, all right, just route those cables. And all right. So that's basically that. And yeah, you know, I've never done these 1U servers, but they fill up really quickly with the cabling. So the 2 power cords, the LED cable, the 2 network cords are already pretty much filling up the cable management arm. On the 2U systems, there's just a lot more space for you to do things like this, but yeah, this is filling up quickly. All right, so anyway, this is almost there. I think we've got just one more thing to do, which is the keyboard KVM. So I'm going to leave this a little bit loose. I can pull this down later on, maybe loop it down here just to kind of make it a little bit neater. But all right, so I have one of these cords that goes to the KVM switch. Let me just kind of uncoil it, and I have to attach this to the all right, so let's see, here's my dongle. I'm going to be plugging this into video. We'll secure that. Alright, so the video thing is plugged in, then the keyboard USB. This also powers the dongle, by the way. So the dongle is powered by the USB power. Let's see, I have this. Alright. Now one thing, I don't have my zip ties or anything like that right now, but you do want to kind of secure this cable so that when this thing is moving in and out, it's not going to get caught underneath or something like that. So you want to just secure all this stuff as best you can. I'll just temporarily put it in here, and I'll put the dongle thing in here. Yeah, this 1U cable management arm is pretty tightly filled, so you know what, I'm going to move this dongle just a little bit closer to the inside here, just because I don't want the dongle out. Let's see if I can make some room for it in here. Yeah, this is getting pretty tight. All right. Let's see here. I have all right. So I think that's going to be the last thing here anyway, so let me go ahead and pull the Velcro up and start securing this thing. There we go. Alright, so that should hold that in place. And similarly with this, should hold that in place. I want the dongle to be inside. Alright, so we got those things secured. Alright, so I'm just going to connect the Ethernet to this dongle here. Now this is not necessarily ideal. Normally, like I don't really have a lot of space with this 1U cable management arm right now, so I'm just going to try this as it is. But normally I would want the dongle head to be inside here and just have the cables out here, so I don't put too much bend on this cable, but unfortunately I think this is just going to be the way it's going to have to be for now. And we'll try it out and see how it works. Alright. So I think, let me tie it up over here so things don't move. Alright, so I've got this tied up. I think this is going to be okay. I will get the camera off my head and set it up to monitor this while I pull the server out the front, and we can observe how this all actually works out. But alright, so the rest of this here, I will pull this cable later on to just make it a little bit, coil it up somewhere out, somewhere else in the rack. But for now, I think I'm going to just tie these guys up here. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Alright, so I got the power cords a little bit, well, let's see, I don't know. Wasn't really sure if I could fit the power cords in here, but maybe I can. Alright, yeah, I guess this will work. Alright, so got everything lined up, and you know what, I'm going to put that on top so that it doesn't get caught on the bottom here. But basically, yeah, this is it. So we've got the network cables for the iDRAC, network cables for the interface, and if you have 10 gig, you can put your SFPs in here. I've got the VGA, and I got the USB for the keyboard and the power to the dongle, right? And this, I think, yeah, I'll loosen it just a little bit, but not too much. Ideally, you might want to like just zip tie this stuff up here, but we're gonna have to see how all this cable moves when the server gets pulled out. So, all right, let me set up the camera to kind of watch this while I pull the server out, so you guys can get a view of how this whole arm works and stuff like that. All right, guys, I got the camera set up so you can get a good view of the cable management arm as I go to the front of the rack and pull the server out, so you can kind of see how this all works, and we'll see if it actually all works or if something gets caught or something like that. Hopefully there's no surprises, but let's see what happens. Alright, so nothing got caught with the upper server or the bottom server, so I think that's a good sign. These power cords are a little bit tight, so I might see what I can do to kind of give myself a little bit more length on the power cords over here. I think they're just a little bit too tight, and I kind of knew that earlier while I was installing them, but they're 6-foot power cords, so I thought that would be enough for a half rack, but I guess they're running in all sorts of directions and using up a lot of that length. But anyway, looks like it's good so far on the extension part, but we also want to observe how it comes back when the server is pushed back into the rack. So let's see how that works. Alright, so looks like everything's okay. The power cords did not get caught underneath the support tray. Everything seems to be okay. Again, it's just, I think the power cord's just a little bit too tight. The dongle here seems like it's okay, didn't get caught on anything. I was a little concerned that that might be a problem, but but I think it seems like it's going to be okay. If I didn't have an Ethernet cable with this kind of extended head thing, I might have a less of a bend here, but anyway, this will work. Like I said, this is really just my lab setup. Oh, this is somehow came loose. I don't know why, but yeah, this is really just my lab setup, so I'm not too worried about making it perfect because it's likely going to change in a few months, and things will have to be changed out there. Like I mentioned, this stuff tends to come loose, so I probably should get some zip ties and just kind of tie this up over here, so that as you can see, it already kind of popped out a little bit. And if there was another server on top, it might get caught. It might catch this cable as something's pulling out like that, and so I want to make sure that all this stuff is inside. But anyway, I guess hopefully this gives you guys an idea how the cable management arm works and kind of the benefits of having one. And also, I pressed on the identification light so you can see that the blue LED here, let's see if that's in the camera. Yeah, the blue LED on the back of the server is blinking, and that light is being transmitted through that cable to the LED that's on the back of the cable management arm. And so as you can see, that's, if there was another server up here, it would be really hard to see that, and so at least you can still see it there. And I think I can press it from here as well. Well, let's see, maybe from underneath. If I press it, it should stop that blinking. And so, yeah, by the way, if you guys are not familiar, this button here, you can press it. So like, let's say if you had a whole bunch of these servers and they all looked exactly the same, and you're working on one, or you've identified this one being the problem or whatever, and you want to go to the front and make sure you pull out the right server. Well, in the old days, before they had kind of fancy mechanism like this, you would have to count how many servers from the bottom or how many servers from the top you would work on. Okay, so in the early days of my data center careers, that's what we used to do. But now you can just press one of these lights and it blinks, and hopefully it's the only light that's blinking. So when you go to the front, you'll see the same blinking light. You'll be able to identify that same server. So it's a nice little feature to have. It may not make really a difference if you've only got one or two servers and it's easy to identify which one you need to work on. But when you have a rack full of 40 of these one-use servers, those little features like that really make it kind of nice. And so, like I said, I love Supermicro, but this stuff here is the envy of every Supermicro user or owner, if you have to have a cable management arm. And some places don't bother with that. They just have their cords kind of connected and expect that you need to pull all the cables off before you pull a server out, and that's certainly one way to do it as well. But like I said, for a lab environment where I'm pulling the server out, installing components, pushing it back in, doing various other things with it, doing basically a lot of maintenance and swapping and experimenting with stuff, and having a cable management arm like this just saves me a lot of hassle of unplugging all these cables just to pull a server out to install a card, and then plugging them all back in just to power things up and stuff like that. So anyway, hope you get the idea of how this works. I hope this was helpful if anybody's considering getting a cable management arm. And like I said, most important point I hope you get out of this video is that if you are buying a cable management arm, make sure you get those brackets, right? Either if your rack rails already have the brackets, terrific, you're very lucky. But if you don't have those brackets, okay, again, like these things, if you don't have these brackets, make sure you get the cable management arm kit with the brackets included. Otherwise, there's just no way you're going to be able to install the cable management arm successfully. And anyways, I hope you guys found this video useful, and if you did, please give me that thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, you like this kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe. And also, if you want to support my channel, go check out the link in the video description below. I'll leave a link to my eBay store where I have all sorts of server goodies. I'll also leave a couple affiliate links to the cable management arm kits with their part numbers that I mentioned in this video. And so that way, you'll have an easy way to find them on eBay. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.